Hello, addiction and prevention students in class. I'm Jamie, and hopefully you have seen my prior videos. I'm finally back in town. Back in town as of Monday afternoon, extremely late, and today is Wednesday. So I do thank you for your patience and understanding during my trip. My internet connection was not as solid and much more sporadic than I thought it was going to be. Plus, my schedule was a bit more packed than I thought as well. We, again, welcome to the class. This is one of those really interesting classes. One of my favorite classes, actually. Our topics will include the addiction process, is addiction a disease, how drug abuse and use in general impacts society, and we will speak of prevention efforts. One of the differences in this class, other than, say, the substance abuse counseling class, is we'll be taking a very general approach in this class. Getting into specific circumstances for individuals, maybe not so much so, but we'll be looking at society in general, and circumstances in general, and addiction in general. Of course, there's always exceptions to the rules, and there are circumstances that do not apply for every single person, but we will certainly be looking for the particular and the general. And as one of my sociology mentors told me many years ago, the general and the particular and the particular and the general. A couple of housekeeping items. I posted grades for lesson 0 and lesson number 1 already. You should see those in your grade book. Lesson number 2 is due June 7th. There's an issue with the lesson number 2 assignments. Some of the videos may not be showing for many of you, and I have not quite identified the problem yet. The videos are showing for many of you, but for not others of you. And we have had a Blackboard upgrade this summer as well, which could be aggravating the factors. So I'm not sure what's happening. Rest assured that the videos in lesson number 2 are very brief. They're really commercials that I collected from popular media. So if you can't see those videos, don't be in lesson number 2. Don't be too concerned about that at this point. And beginning in lesson number 3, if you can't see the videos, let me know, because they begin to be extremely important. And if the video screen does not pop up on your page immediately, you should find a link below where the video is supposed to be that says, having trouble viewing the video, click here. And just click on that link, and it will take you to the actual website that hosts the video. You should be able to watch the video at that point. Also, I posted everything for the entire semester this morning. That includes the midterm exam, the final exam, all lessons, and the beautiful board book report instructions. So when you log in, under assignments, you should see everything posted up through lesson number 9, I believe it is. So make sure to browse some of those items. You should already be reading the beautiful board book. If you haven't started, you need to. Don't put this off until the very end. Most students really enjoy this reading. So please begin that process if you have not already. Currently, we're beginning the discussion in terms of, is addiction a disease? It is a disease. One of the easier ways or better ways to compare addiction to a disease model is that of diabetes. And we'll get into that discussion in depth as we go along this semester. But diabetes is something that, for many folks, it is a disease that's unexplained. That maybe it occurred in our lives because of factors of heredity or genetics or other issues, but it's a disease that finds no blame. we didn't get up. Most folks with diabetes don't wake up one morning and say, I want to suffer from diabetes today. Nor do we blame individuals who come down with specific diseases as well. Is it someone's fault that they get cancer, for example? And should we treat them differently? Now, this doesn't mean, it certainly does not mean, if we go back to the concept of diabetes, if you have the disease of diabetes, that doesn't make you irresponsible. It makes you even more responsible for eating habits and how you take care of yourself and medical coping mechanisms and so forth. So the general consensus in the field, and what I truly believe, and where I've in my educational experiences, and I've spent almost 20 years now working with the addicted population, is addiction it is a disease. It's a disease of the mind, the spirit, and the body. But just because it's a disease does not mean the individual that's impacted is not responsible for their actions. They are responsible for their actions, but we also have to remember that addiction is a disease. And simply telling someone who is addicted to stop drinking or to stop smoking or stop using drugs, once they cross over from abuse to addiction, is not realistic for most individuals. And I would say those individuals who have been abusing drugs at significant amounts for significant periods of time, who are able to stop immediately or overnight or cold turkey, really were not addicted to begin with. They were just suffering from extremely significant periods of abuse. And these are some of the topics and conversations we will be having as we go along this semester. So addiction is not a choice, but people are still responsible. And on the surface, that seems like a contradictory statement. But when we have time to dig into it, to talk about it, to have a conversation, it becomes much more clear. But I certainly, what I share with students in this class and other classes, addiction is the most complex and confusing and surprising and hopeful and despairing human circumstance and experience that you may be exposed to. And we all know someone who we may perceive to be who drinks too much, who uses legal or illegal substances and so forth. And it's a disease that is truly a disease of the family. The family doesn't have to use those drugs, no, but the family member that is using impacts every other family member without fail. So as we go along, we will have some really good readings, some videos, and internet sources we'll be looking at, sources that's currently used in the field already, and so forth. Plus, as of this month, the definition of addiction and abuse is changing based on the DSM-4, the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual. I will be sharing some of that information with you at the very end of the semester. The current information this class is based off of is still very relevant, very current, has been used in the field for the past 20 to 30 years, and will still continue to be used in the field. But we're beginning to have different conversations about what addiction means and what misuse and abuse means in the field as well. And it's a very, very controversial stance, this new definition that's being published, and not very well accepted by providers in the field and by our government supporters. And it's a conversation that I do want to expose you to. Last but not least, many of us have very strong opinions and ideas and thoughts, commitments to what we believe about this topic. They may be true, they may not be true. But the goal of this class is not to change your opinion. The goal is to provide you relevant information that you can decide for you how true it is in your own experience. But just because some of the material is very challenging and may challenge what you've believed in the past about addiction, about family members, about friends and neighbors and so forth, even yourself, try not to shut your ears to that, because part of the educational process is to learn about the perceptions and ideas of other people and of the field itself, and to take more of a academic and open approach to material that's being presented to you. You know, the goal of education is to present challenging material and the outside world to you that maybe you haven't seen before. That doesn't mean that you have to change what you believe. But if you're afraid to have a conversation about what you believe and new material that's being presented to you, then the goal of education has been for nothing. We can't be afraid, especially if our goal is to help other individuals, because you will not find another person out there that believes exactly as you believe about any topic at all, 100% of the time. So we have to place ourselves in a position with a knowledge base to help others who believe and live in a totally different way than we do, without making judgments, without shutting them down, and without saying, well, I don't believe that, therefore it doesn't make it true. We must be open. We have to be open to new experiences and new ideas. So I hope, regardless of your thoughts or opinions about addiction or the addiction process, that we challenge you. What you believe may correspondingly work well with our material. It may not, and that's okay. But let's be challenged. Let's try to figure out what we believe and why we believe that way, and be able to have a coherent and deep conversation about why we believe how we believe. And if you can do that, then it makes you a stronger person, and it makes the educational process worthwhile. We will be talking a lot about, is addiction voluntary, and is it a choice? And if it's not a choice, how can people still be responsible? It's very confusing. But give it a chance, and we will see the light at the end of the tunnel, I do believe. Also, I will be scheduling a couple of Google Hangouts, which are video conferences, for the class. That will be 100% optional. You can participate if you want to, and they will be held in the daytime, or maybe at night, maybe a combination thereof. 1 or 2 times, maybe at least 2 times during the semester after I get settled in. One time in June, another time in July. So stay tuned for those. We will find out from the class what days and times are best. This is a relatively small class, so we have a really good opportunity to get to know each other and have a conversation about the material and so forth. I do appreciate everybody's discussion board post. I will make responses to those posts as we go along as needed, and I will respond to those posts and announcements and other messages to you as we go along as well. In the meantime, if you have questions or concerns, please let me know. Take care.